Hello and welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for Wednesday, January 15th. We're going to be breaking it down. We got 11 games on FanDuel and 9 on Draftkings to go over, and we're going to jump right in. I'm your host, Tyler Wiemann, at FlatTyler83 on your DFS sites and on Twitter. Now come join us at LineStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to all we do, all the props, all the DFS. You get it all for one low price. Now, let's see what we got going on this beautiful Wednesday slate with a ton of injury news already. This slate could get really wild. It's kind of been happening a lot lately, but we'll dive in. All right, starting with point guard, highest owned, LaMelo Ball, 25% owned. I'm personally going to get a ton of Ball in this situation. He's in a great spot versus Utah. They're actually favored, and Ball just has a huge ceiling and has been playing very, very well lately. So absolutely fine to go to him in the spot versus the Utah Jazz, and it's the Utah Jazz B team because there's no Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, Jordan Clarkson, or Colin Sexton. Dyson Daniels, 7,200, 21% owned. He is versus the Chicago Bulls, so it is a very good matchup, and he will likely be at the point guard position tonight. There is no Trae Young, no DeAndre Hunter, no Zachary Reisner, no Jalen Johnson, so a lot more usage to go Dyson Daniels' way. He won't be quite as reliant on those steals and blocks as he normally is. However, for him to really get that upside, he probably still needs to grab a few of them, and Bulls have been pretty good at securing the ball versus the point guard. So I like Daniels, gonna have some of him. Not sure if I'll get over 20% though. Keaton George, 5,700, 20% owned. It does look like he is going to be back tonight. Now, he's missed, pretty much all of January games here. So maybe the Jazz are a little worried about his minutes. Not totally sure how they're going to break that down. But without, Clarkson and Sexton, George probably has the ball in his hands a lot and is asked to score. So definitely a little bit interested in him, but I'm going to be watching for news to make sure he's, playing his full allotment of minutes before I really play him here. That's my big worry for him. Next, we got 8,400 Ja Morant, 12% owned. I'm going to have some Ja. I like trying to go against the Spurs. We got a high game total here. He played 37 minutes the other night, so we know his minutes are starting to get back up there. We have him projected at 32 minutes, and as long as he's in that 32, 34 area, I think Ja's in a really good spot at 8,400. That price is just low for a guy that, can go for 50 plus if he gets it going. So definitely interested in some Ja here. Now, other pivot action, we got Stephon Cassell, 4,800, 8% owned. He is probably going to start. I do say probably because we're not for sure. It could be him out, Jeremy Champagne in, not totally sure here, but I do expect Castle to start, and if so, he's in a good spot. His price is too cheap, and as a starter, he was, routinely in the 30s. So let's take the value and move on there. On to shooting guard on point guard on DraftKings. LaMelo Ball, Vit Krujcik, Keaton George, Stephon Cassell. So Vit is in the same situation as Dyson Daniels. Everybody's out. He's going to get minutes. He played 35 last night. He's going to get minutes tonight. I'm fine to go there. I do have a little bit of a worry. I don't know how well he's going to be able to create his own shot. So the fact that Trae isn't there may hurt him a little bit on the offensive side. Trae is a pretty good facilitator, gets guys open, and, without that, it might be a little bit harder for him to put the ball in the bucket, but he's getting a huge uptick in minutes. So I'm fine having some Vit here. Probably going to have a decent amount, and it's going to be hard to get away from the Hawks tonight. High game total. Their main guys are all sitting. There's going to be value there. So I'm going to be mixing and matching some of that Hawks value there. Now, shooting guard on FanDuel. We just talked about Vit. Same goes on FanDuel. He's interesting. Dyson Daniels we've covered. Keaton George we talked about. Garrison Matthews, Bogdan Bogdanovic. Both these guys I'm interested in. Both are at 20% owned. Garrison Matthews probably comes off the bench. And if that's the case, he's going to be less owned. I am absolutely interested in him. He's 0.9 fantasy point per minute over his last 20 games coming off the bench. And I would expect him to have to play 26, 28 minutes. And at his price, that fantasy point per minute in a good matchup makes a lot of sense to want to go to some Matthews. Bogdan Bogdanovic, he will likely have to start this game. He's got up to 28 minutes. I'm sure at this point he can play more. And if he gets, 30, 32 minutes, he's in a great spot to really do well. He's also another guy who, in the past, when guys have been out, has picked up a ton of usage and really done well from a fantasy point per minute standpoint. So I am absolutely interested in Bogdan. He hasn't been playing quite as well this year as we're used to, but I'm still fine taking some shots here. And pivot time. Amen Thompson, 12% owned. He is all the way up to 8,300, but I mean, the guy keeps getting it done. I know we talked a week or two ago, going back through all his starts, showing that everyone's been like 40 or around 40. Now he's showing, some 50-point upsides. I don't know how Houston puts him back on the bench, is one. Two, I mean, how am I going to say no to a guy? It's an okay matchup. He just put up a 58 versus Minnesota, a 53 versus Washington, 46 versus LA. I got to go back to him. He's playing big-time minutes, too. So, very productive, big-time minutes, huge ceiling. I'm in. I can't believe he's not more owned, honestly. Cassell, we talked about. Jalen Green, 7,500. Last week, I was talking about how the biggest bump up in Jabari Smith being out is Jalen Green. He's like a 1.1 fantasy per minute guy with Jabari Smith off of the court. On the season, he's been at 1. Over the last 5, he's been at 1.29. So he's likely been playing, a little out of his shoes lately with that 1.29 number, but he has been playing extremely well, and I'm going to go back to him in this spot. He just keeps getting it done. The ball keeps going in the basket. He is just scoring an insane amount and chucking the ball 20 plus times a night. And now he's in a great spot versus the Nuggets at shooting guard. One thing I do have to warn you, over the last 10 games, the Nuggets have been much better versus shooting guard. If you look at our team defense tool, it's a big change. So, they go from like the 30th best or, the worst in the NBA to like more of an average team versus shooting guard. So there has been a change there that has affected how the Nuggets are covering the shooting guard position. But I'm still going to be rolling with some Jalen Green, especially stays at 8%. Desmond Bane, 7,400, guy that can get the ball in the bucket, get into that mid-40s. Now, with Ja on the court, he obviously does get a little bit of a hit usage-wise, but his fantasy per minute has just been solid so far this season with Ja on the court. Now, it's a relatively small sample size, so that's probably plays into it, but it's 7,400. The guy can get into the 40s and 50s, so I'm fine going there in a great matchup versus the Spurs where it's a 239 total. They're 26 overall versus shooting guard. I'm fine to take some shots at some Ja here. Shooting guard on DraftKings, Garrison Matthew, Vit, Bogdan Bogdanovic. We covered all of them. All of them we're interested in. Stefan Cassell we're interested in, especially at 4K on DraftKings. That's crazy. Devin Vassell, I also like. This is another guy that I've been talking about. He keeps producing, and he's routinely in that 5-6x area, and I know there is that capability for him to go, 40 plus points. I mean, he did it last game. He can absolutely do more of that as he gets in better basketball shape, as he still is only, a month and a half into his season. So definitely like some Vassell there. Small forward on FanDuel, Jonathan Isaac, 4,800, 23% owned. I am fine going some Isaac. Orlando's big time hurt. We keep seeing some, little blips of the minutes going up. 27 last game, 25 a few games ago. I think him being high owned is a little hard for me to jump on that, his minutes are back kind of standpoint. But if I have him at 22 minutes, I'm probably going to get a little bit just because he's such a good fantasy point per minute guy. So I don't mind a little bit of him. There is upside there if the minutes really are. If he's playing 26 minutes a night, he's a screaming deal at 4,800. I just don't think they're really doing that yet. I think it was just a little blip on the radar. It's something to keep watching. And hopefully it happens soon, but I just don't really think we're there yet. So at higher ownership, it's hard for me to do it. Bogdanovic covered. Jason Tatum, 10.4K. 13% owned versus the Raptors. Big thing here is just, it's the Raptors. They're probably going to get absolutely rolled. So how long does Tatum play? Does he play long enough to get enough boards, assists, points, all of that to really, get a ceiling type outcome? Probably not. Men Thompson, we covered. Bright, Sensabaugh. Sensabaugh with all those guys out is like a 1.15 fantasy per minute guy. It's a very small sample size, but essentially his role on the Jazz right now is going to be the sixth man. He's taking that Jordan Clarkson type role. He gets in the game and he needs to just chuck it up. And he's going to chuck it up a lot tonight, I think. If you look, 13 shot attempts couple days ago versus Orlando 19, Miami 18. His role is going to be to just put the ball up, and if he gets hot, there's big time upside in that. So I'm fine going with some Sensabaugh. He's likely to come off the bench. Minutes are hard to project because it's likely gonna kind of be how he's rolling too. He could get more if the ball's going in. He could get a little less if if it's not going in the bucket as much. But I'm taking some shots on him, especially if he stays a little lower owned. David Roddy, 3,700. This is another spot where Atlanta could end up starting him or just have to play him a decent amount off the bench. He has been productive in the past. The one thing I would say, if he's not starting, it might be a little hard to go here. Just because I think it's totally up in the air how many minutes he really gets. If he's getting 24 plus minutes, I love the play. And I'll leave it at that. I just don't know exactly how many minutes he's going to get, but I do have some interest and am kind of liking him. Andrew Wiggins, 6,200. It's not the best matchup in the world. There's no Jonathan Kuminga. Without Kuminga, he's like a 1.01 fantasy per minute guy. A little hurt in this matchup at the center, at the small forward spot, but I think he can still get there. I mean, earlier in the season, 27, 26 against Minnesota. Last year, right around the same, but he's playing much better basketball than he was last year. I think he can go 30 pluses. My issue here is I don't know if he can go 40s, and we kind of need that to win it, but I'm willing to take... he's at 3%. I'm willing to go 8-10% on Wiggins and hope I can get a little lightning in the bottle there. Small forward on DK, Sensabaugh, we covered. Garrison Matthews, Bogdanovic, Devin Vassell, Jason Tatum. We covered all of them, so we will just head right on over to power forward Victor Wembanyama. 28% owned. Look, this is a day where there's a ton of value. Guys, your Wembys, your Giannis, your Jokic are going to go higher owned than they generally do just because the value is there to be able to pay up for them. Wemby's in a good spot. I don't mind going there at all. It's versus Memphis, high scoring game. Uh, I mean, they're allowing a lot of blocks a game, allowing a decent amount of steals a game. That's what Wemby makes his bread and butter on. There's the huge upside of 80, but, you know, he can also easily just get 50. He's not quite as consistent as Jokic, and he's near price as Jokic. With that being said, Jokic's in a much worse spot than him. Isaac, we covered. Okongwu definitely went off yesterday. We talked about him, and good thing we did because he went nuts. And there's probably going to be some chasers coming after him today with all these injuries here. I worry about his minutes, though, because him and Capella just split the center spot, so how many more minutes are really going to open for him? I just don't think it's going to be very much. I don't think they're going to play him and Capella on the court together very much. If they do, it's like 2 or 4 minutes. So, won't be a huge boost minute-wise. It's a decent spot for the Bull versus the Bulls, but it's not like a home run. So I don't mind having some, not going super hard. David Roddy, we covered, and Giannis, 11.9. Only thing for me is I normally don't really like playing anybody versus Orlando, but he has had some success versus Orlando in the past. He's had it this year. He had it last year. He had it in 2021 and 2022. So I'm fine taking some Giannis here. I never, I always like having Giannis in my lineups, and I think this is a spot where he could go a little under-owned and still have that upside, a little pivot off your Wembys, if you will. And Wiggins, we talked about. Power forward on DraftKings, Bryce Sensabaugh, Jonathan Isaac, Jason Tatum, Naz Reid. Reid, we've covered a ton of times. He's always in range for those big games. You just never know when they're going to go. Center spot on FanDuel. Daniel Gafford, 29% owned. All right. Derek Lively got hurt. He's probably out. Gafford's going to end up starting. Last 3 times he started, he played 28, 28, and 29 minutes. If he gets that kind of minutes at 4,500, I'm going to have to play him. During those starts, and the start before that, 27. All of those were all, I believe, without Lively. So it's a little bit more of a representation of how many minutes we can get. So if he's getting 28 minutes, it's going to be hard for me not to play him. So I'm getting a ton of Gafford right now. We're going to wait and see if any other news comes out. It is unlikely Lively plays. He rolled his ankle yesterday. X-rays were negative. They say without a timetable to return. But I don't think they have officially announced him out. So Gafford's a good play. Wemby, Okongwu, Capella and Okongwu were both kind of interesting. I just don't know if they pick up extra minutes. That's the only hard thing. If you're going to tell me one of them was getting 28 minutes for sure, I would like them. If one is getting 24 and the other's getting 28, I like the 28. But it's just a hard spot to really handicap and figure out what they may do minute-wise there. And Alperen Sengun is my last pivot of the day versus the Nuggets. This man likes going against the Nuggets. He's had a couple very good games versus them. We know there's the big-time ceiling. The game should be competitive, go down to the end, and the best way to cover Jokic is get him in foul trouble. Go at him. And I think that's what Alperen Sengun likes to do, is just try to go at him. And I think that's how you got to do it, really. Make him play some D, get him a little more tired, maybe in some foul trouble, and hope he can get off the court. So I like some Sengun, and let's check out center on DK. Isaac, Jokic, Okongwu. Jokic at 12.3K needs to be considered. Houston isn't a great spot, but he is loved to play Sengun. 85, 81, 74, and 55 versus him. So all those were last year, but you know, if this keeps going, it's pretty interesting to me, and I don't mind it going there whatsoever. Nuggets are playing some good basketball right now, and it might be a spot where Aaron Gordon is out. He is right now questionable. We know he's not going to get big-time minutes, but if he's out, it does raise that floor, raise that median of Jokic, and gives him a little more ceiling. So definitely will be more interested in Jokic if Gordon is out. And that will do it for us today, guys. Let's win some money. Good luck. I will see you later. Peace. Please like, comment, and subscribe.